everyone, welcome to this podcast, Talks with Tech Founders and Leaders. This is Neeta, your host. Today we had an awesome guest with us who is a VP of Advanced Engineering at a top 10 Tier-One Automotive Supplier company. We talked about leadership, teamwork, uncertain situation which occurs in a startup company, as he was a CTO at a startup company for 10 years. And we also discussed about the future of automotive and some interesting projects which he worked on. So hope you enjoy listening to this podcast and stay tuned. My first question to you is, tell me a fun fact about you.
Yeah, I was thinking about the fun fact. Well, a lot of people know I like cars. I'm a car guy. I like motorcycles, on-road, off-road. Everyone knows that. So I adore everything that has some wheels and goes on some roads or even the roads. Yeah, but not many people know that I also adore cats. So I'm a cat guy, not a dog guy. So
Okay,
it's not like I don't like the dogs, but if I can choose, I prefer the cats.
me too. I am also a cat person. That's awesome. And actually, most of the people like dog. So yeah, I find people who like cats very less. So yes, that's amazing. And where are you from and what is your educational background?
So, where am I from? So, I was born in a town where there is a conspiracy theory in Germany that it doesn't exist,
Huh?
and
Okay.
yeah, it's Bielefeld. It's there is a conspiracy theory about the non-existence of this town,
Mm-hmm.
and I never lived there, so I don't know how it came that I was born there. But well, then I lived in the southern part of Germany, like in different places. But yeah, so I'm living south of Frankfurt. It's nice there in a small village. I love it. There's no better place than a small village in Germany, I think. Yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. And the second part of the question was experience,
Uh,
wasn't it?
Educational background.
Educational background. Well, I went to school like everyone, and I got my A level at a school that is like 10 kilometers away from my village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I went there very often with a bicycle, and then I studied mechanical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I got the opportunity to work on my PhD, which
Oh.
I
Mm-hmm.
succeeded, and well, that's my educational background.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's why, is it because of that you like cars? Because of the mechanical
I
engineering?
think I think I think it's the region where I'm born or where I'm grown up because
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's the region where a lot of famous Formula One drivers come from. So
Mm.
it's just narrow, very curvy, narrow roads, and so Michael Schumacher's first race racing team is located 3 kilometers north of my home, and
Oh,
he
very
lived here
close
when
by.
he, for example, did his driver's license. Yeah, so yeah,
Ah.
he lived here, and Timo Glock, who was also a famous Formula One racer at his time, he's from next village. And Sebastian Vettel grew up like 25 kilometers south of my home. So
Wow.
maybe it's the region that
Okay.
brought me into being a car guy. Yeah.
Oh, so you thought about being a racer, or you just wanted to build cars and these kind of things?
It's quite simple. You get a driver's license, you buy an old rotten car for few money, and then you got a girlfriend, and of course the parents of the girlfriend want you to bring her home before 10 o'clock because they think nothing happens before 10. I don't know, parents at that time were like this, and of course you try to take every minute, but then you have to bring her back like 15 kilometers
Mm-hmm.
from village to village, one curve after the other, and you have to go fast because 10 o'clock is 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they will be angry, and so well, finally I won. Once I lost a car on that way. Yeah,
Oh,
no one
okay.
lost his life, but I lost a car.
You lost the whole car?
Yeah, there was not much damage, but
Okay, okay,
we were
okay.
not on time anymore. It went through the ditch into into the field. Well, yeah.
That's a fun fact, I would say.
It's the only time in my life that I lost a car.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Interesting. That's very interesting. And I saw your background actually. It's very interesting that I saw you have 18 patents on your, I saw it on LinkedIn, and you have like 18 patents, and then you worked
You
for
you
like,
know more than I because I don't know how many patents I have.
I counted them, so yes. So I was very amazed to see like, oh my God, you have so much of experience as a scientific researcher in electric brakes. Yes. Then then you became a CTO at Fludicon. Then you were a senior manager at Hitachi Automotive Systems, and now you are in a big company for automotive suppliers. So how was your journey? And did you always? I know you always wanted to be in automotive, so I know the answer for that. But how was your journey so far?
So yeah, at the very beginning, so during my studies, I also was very interested in production technologies and such stuff. So
Hmm.
it was not so clear that I really would go for automotive later, but I did
Okay.
that. I did that. Then I did a lot of yeah. We have to do obligatory trainings during our studies, and
Hmm.
of course, I wanted to be a test driver. I found test driving super nice, and I did that even as a test driver for motorcycles, and so that was super exciting. And I found out for myself that it was exciting for a week, and after 3 weeks it sucked. It just
For a
sucked.
week, just.
And it is something that I never would have expected, and that is also something where I would say people out there go and try really out what you want to do later,
Mm.
because in my imagination, being a test driver was wonderful. Yeah, going on the Nürburgring, driving on the limit. I can do that, and I knew I can do that. But doing that for a certain purpose, find out something, is another story. And suddenly you lose a hobby. Yeah,
Mm.
so suddenly you lose a hobby. If you make your hobby your job, you lose it. Yeah,
Hmm.
you lose your hobby. So uh, and later also when working with electric parking brakes, I wasn't the one who was test driving, but I saw, for example, a colleague, and in the very early morning, like 6:30, he took his test car out of the parking lot, to backed out of his parking space, and the brake made a noise. So
Oh.
you could hear, everyone could hear in the parking, the offices were above the parking, everyone
Hmm.
could hear, "Ee," and everyone knew his brake is making a noise.
Mm.
And at that time, about 50% of the engineers in braking were working on brake noises, so not
Hmm.
on the brake itself. Yeah, braking itself is simple, but brake noise is a difficult aspect. And so he parked in and out the whole day and tried to find that noise again, and it
Hmm.
just didn't happen.
Oh,
So that
that's
that also can be a test drive. Test driver can be you park in and out a day long. That is very frustrating. Yeah,
yeah,
so
I can
it is.
imagine just waiting
It
for
doesn't
that
sound much
noise.
fun. And yeah, so I saw test drivers. I saw a lot of test drivers during work on brakes, and I also sometimes was test driving motorcycles there. And I also find for anti-lock braking systems, I also found some flaws for my colleagues. And so I don't think that I'm a bad test driver, but I just don't like it. I just don't like it for more than some hours. And later, especially at Fludicon, I was driving with a lot of test drivers, super experienced guys, very impressive. I remember one guy, we started driving the car, and after 150 meters, he told us the precise diameter of the pistons in
Hmm.
our shock absorbers. It's incredible.
Wow, that level of
And
experience.
he was right. He was right
Okay.
immediately. He just didn't, he didn't hesitate. He just told us which dimensions we have. And there is like, I don't know, there is like 11 standard dimensions between 30 and 40 millimeters. And he just told us straight away, this is in the front, this is in the rear. And he couldn't be able to know that before.
Wow.
And later, I think it was like half an hour later, he told us that the car was dynamically pulled down like 4 millimeters. And he didn't say 3 or 5, he said 4. And we put it on a 4 poster and drove the same track, and he was right. It was 4 millimeters. It wasn't 3 or 5. So I don't argue with those guys. They are right. Yeah, and
Yes.
and they have amazing skills, and but it's nothing for me. Yeah. So that is one red line through my CV. Even today I do sometimes test drives. I have to do them, but it's nothing I adore. Interestingly, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have a nice hobby, but you do it so many times that you get like bored because of it. It feels like that.
It's a lot of work to really
Mm,
drive, to find the right way to drive, that you really can feel what you want to feel, that you bring the vehicle in the situation that you want it to be in, and then to
mm,
feel what you have changed. It is really hard work,
mm.
and that is very often underestimated.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like being very specific about what you want to test and bringing the whole environment in that particular
Yeah.
thing. And yeah, it's so being a CTO, you also were doing test drivings and working with these
Yes.
people. Ah,
As a CTO in a startup company, you do everything.
yes.
So I remember that that we had a big presentation and the next day, and I remember that at 11 o'clock in a snowstorm, I was laying under the car and changing a faulty part of the suspension. Sometimes
Whoa.
as a CTO in a startup company, you have to do just everything. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and next day we went there, and everything was fine. Everyone was excited. So nice. But of course, we didn't sleep. Yeah. And
Thunderstorm. Sorry,
yeah. So
snowstorm, I can imagine. Oh my God, that must be like the heights. I mean, I think being a mechanical engineer, that must be like not that big deal for you, right?
in a snowstorm outside on the parking, it is no fun.
Yes.
Never. Yeah. So.
Okay. Then you switched your role from CTO to a senior manager at Hitachi Automotive,
Well,
right?
that was a forced switch because
Hmm.
Hitachi bought the startup company. So
Oh, okay.
so we were purchased by Hitachi Automotive Systems, and then everyone got a new role.
Hmm.
So that was also not a discussion; it was just a decision that someone told you. Yeah, you are now a senior manager of. Yeah, okay, I
Mm.
am. Yeah, and uh, yeah, that was my time with Hitachi, and I highly appreciate our Japanese friends and colleagues. Hitachi Automotive Systems is more or less the opposite of a startup company. So it's like really the other
Huge.
part of the spectrum. Yeah, and like a lot of big suppliers are the other part of the spectrum. I think a Japanese big supplier maybe even a little bit more outside of the spectrum. So.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, they finally, after 1.5 years, they decided that they want to continue the project in Japan and the US.
Hmm.
And so they set us all free because they said they know now everything and they can do it themselves. So that's how startups end. In 9 of 10 cases, it just ends with a bankruptcy, and
Mm.
the other cases, well, it always changes. There is no continuation of how you started. And so as a small startup company, everyone knows everyone whatsoever. So what can it grow to? It can grow to a bigger company.
Hmm.
Then you suddenly also have to follow some processes, and not everyone knows everyone anymore. And you need people who are managing more people, more budget. And that may be different people from those who managed a small startup company. and the culture will change.
Yeah.
So, or you are bought by a big company, then the culture will change.
Definitely.
Or whatever happens, you have to change. And there's several films about startup companies and how they grew and what happened to them. And you can see that some people, they can grow with such a company and others can't. And they have to leave, or they're being left behind, or they're doing something else then, but you always have to change. So that happened also here. So startup company, I was young, I was full of courage, and then later we were purchased by Hitachi, and I wanted to finish that project, but not work longer for Hitachi. That was quite clear to me. But they finished it earlier, so that also brings me to like what are some turning points in my professional life. Yeah, and of course those turning points are always there are many of them. So why am I here? Where I am? Yeah, so it starts during studies. Which friends do you have while studying? What are they doing? Yeah, maybe you just go with them somewhere. Maybe So there already you see directions. Then the trainings that you do. Maybe without a training, I would have gone for a job as a test driver. Yeah, and finally maybe failed in that job because it was just not mine. And so I really think I always had, of course, you always have colleagues who are promoting you, or a superior who is promoting you somehow, and you got opportunities. Some people say something happened by chance, but you only can take the chance if you worked hard for it to be ready for that chance. So just chance is not enough. So you also need to be prepared to take the chance.
True.
And I actively decided to go to that startup company and leave a big automotive renowned supplier. And I actively chose my current position, which was a little bit more difficult because it was the case that I applied at the company through a headhunter, and I didn't know which company it was.
Okay.
And I didn't know the position, the precise position. So it was like leading a software location somewhere in southern Germany, and I didn't want that. And the assistant of the headhunter, she asked me to provide my CV. Well, I was unemployed at that time. So what can you do? Sooner or later, you have to react. It's not like you can't do that, And so I decided, well, I go with that process. I have a look how a headhunter process works, and let's see how far I can go in a field that I don't like and I'm not very good at. Yeah. So and finally, it was really interesting. A telephone call with the assistant of the assistant. Then the telephone call with the assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the telephone call with the assistant of the assistant again, and with the boss, so with the headhunter himself. And then the headhunter said, we have to meet. And then we were meeting. And then he told me about the company.
Okay.
So it was the first time I really heard about the name of the company and what we were talking about. And I found it very interesting. And after 2 hours, he said, well, I believe that you can do that, what we are talking about, this leading a software location somewhere, but you don't want that.
Oh, okay.
And he said, now we're talking. Yeah. And then he said, well, I take you to that company, and I don't have the task to do that, but I just take you with me. And so your documents, I take your information with me, your CV, whatsoever, not me personally. And And it was on a Thursday afternoon, and Friday morning I got a call from that company that they want to have me for an interview for Tuesday morning. And I didn't know which position we were talking about.
Okay.
No idea. And
Okay.
I went there, no idea about the position.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking. This guy who was member of the board and well, after 1.5 hours, he said, "I don't want to offer you the position that I wanted to offer you. I see you in a more central place, and I would like. Would you be okay with coming back in a week?"
Okay. Too much of suspense.
Okay. So Tuesday next week, I was there again. I didn't know about which position we're talking now. Even at that time, he didn't tell me about which position we could have talked, but okay.
Okay.
I was there again with another member of the board and didn't know what we were talking about. And after 1.5 hours, he offered me that position. And well, that sounded very interesting. I had to go home, tell my wife I found a job more than 300 kilometers away from home. Yeah, so that was the downside. And I had another offer that was just 60 kilometers away from home in my
Okay.
former company, where I once have left for this startup company. And well, finally, I actively decided for the job more far away. So, but not because of my wife. So,
Okay.
yeah. So that's how things happen, and there is always points where you want to change your situations because you just can't bear it anymore, or you don't want to bear it anymore. But that needs to have a certain. You always need to reflect on that, and of course, there is always a danger. So in Germany, we're always like safety oriented or security, financially security oriented. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and if you have just a credit for your house and you have a family and a credit for your car and whatsoever, you can't afford that it goes wrong. And it can always go wrong in the first 6 months, and it needn't be your fault. So we are just in a situation right now in the automotive industry. Also, my company fired everyone who was less than 6 months on board, just because it was possible. No matter about no matter about performance. It's just a question of cost. Yeah. So, and this is something always can happen, and you can't see that always before you start moving. And the other point is, of course, every time you're forced, because the world around changes, you
have to adapt.
either adapt or change yourself or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, of course, COVID was changing a lot. Yeah. Yeah, that is so. That are such points where there was change in my professional life.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually. Like you wanted to be a test driver, then you went into this research, and you did test driving, then you figured out you don't like it that much. And then you moved into different roles in your career with different companies. But I have a question, like why didn't you join another startup maybe once it was acquired?
Well, I was altogether it was 10 years with the startup company and Hitachi Automotive Systems, and you can do that thing with a startup when you're either very young or when you're very old.
Okay.
But in between there is a time where you just have to feed your family and pay your house and I don't know what. Yeah. And the question is always, do you really want that? So there were weeks in the startup company, I think we were working more than 100 hours. Yeah?
Oh, okay.
So they were, I think, there were when we had the project, we had so the startup company was like 15 engineers, 1-5. Yeah, so 15 engineers.
Very close.
So a CEO, an assistant, that's it. Yeah, so a CFO, CEO, assistant, so 3 overhead plus CTO and engineers, and the CTO was also working as an engineer. So, and then we had a project with a big American OEM and a big Japanese tier one. So I literally stopped working at 10 o'clock in the evening. And when I entered the bathroom at 6 o'clock in the morning, there were another 60 emails and they wanted something. It's not like for your information or here you're in CC. No, they wanted to know something. So every day, like 100 emails from people who really wanted to know something. And so the Japanese tier one, they made a team of 150 engineers working on our project.
150? So, oh my God.
Yes. Okay. And we were 15.
Yes.
And I succeeded in not providing any other email address than mine. So they were not able to directly access our engineers if not by in a meeting or something like this, but because otherwise no one would have been able to work anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't work. You can't work. If you have to answer 100 emails per day, you can't work. And it's so the big art was which email will be obsolete in a week. Yeah. So which email we just not working on. Yeah. So it's just because what can you do? You know, what can you do? Yes. You just have no capacities to do that. And I didn't want that anymore. To be honest, I didn't want that anymore. I really was done with that. After Hitachi fired us all, I really didn't want to have a job right away. I tried everything not to start working right away, and it was a wonderful time with family, children that visited us for the whole summer and things like that. It was really nice. And until one of our former customers told one of his suppliers that I may be available. And then, of course, well, I didn't want to stay just with one company. And then I more or less applied for 5 different companies and finally got 2 offers. And so, but that is also something that many young engineers mistakenly do wrong. So it's like I know students who just applied at 200 companies and there's no reply. How can that be? You just have to. You don't have to write a lot of applications. You just have to do
it right.
The one application in the right way. Yeah. So that's simple. Yeah. And you need to be invited, and to being invited is not by mass, it's by quality. And the moment you're invited, you're already chosen.
Yeah.
Okay, there may be 20 others, but finally, they are only looking. So if you hold a PhD, they usually don't doubt that you can do that from a professional point of view. They look if you fit into the company, whatever that means.
Company culture.
Whatever that means. You may be as good and as nice as can be, but maybe you just don't fit into their company.
Yeah.
So finally, you only can provide reasons why people don't want to hire you in that interview. Yeah. So there is not you're already chosen, and many people don't realize that beforehand. Yeah. So you'd have to do the right application, then you don't have to make bigger mistakes. Yeah. and always, of course, be yourself. Otherwise, the company may not fit to you because you thought that you have to adapt to the company. It's the same with a job. Don't do something that will bring you a lot of money. Do what you're good at and what you
Yeah.
like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money
It
will
needn't be
follow.
your hobby. I was already talking about the hobby, but
Yes.
there is a study. I didn't verify, but I was told there is a study made in the 60s,
Oh.
or started in the 60s, where they had a look at young people, and they asked them what is important for you, doing things that you like professionally, or earning a lot of money, and most of them said, I want to earn a lot of money. And I think it was like 30 years later, they looked at those people again, and they had a look, how much money do they make? And in fact, about 101 of 1,600 people were millionaires.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a positive choice at the very beginning, I bet. But and they were dollar millionaires, and one person out of the group that really wanted to make a lot of money, yeah, and the rest out of the
One
very much
person.
smaller, yeah, and
Okay.
the rest of the much smaller group that wanted to do what they like. And you can't make a lot of money with something you are not good at and you don't like.
You cannot sustain for longer in that case. If you don't like to work on it, then I mean,
Yeah,
you will definitely lose your interest, and the quality of the work will reflect that, and then it's ultimately not earning any money. So yeah,
you
that's
have
for sure.
you have a relation with your job for the next 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point is always what is your plan B? Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you will have to change. So
true.
the best would be you know a lot you know a lot about more than one topic. Yeah. It always helps you. You're then the system engineer. Yeah. You know about mechanical engineering. Maybe you are a software engineer. I don't know, but maybe you know a lot about mechanical engineering, and maybe there is even some know-how about electronic hardware. You're the one in the future who brings the system together,
Yeah, yeah.
who really understands everything. Yeah, and that is. But of course, again, it must be something that you really like to do.
That's the
Yeah.
most important
So
part, yes.
you need to enjoy working on issues. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, as an engineer, you should, whatever field you are, you should like to solve a problem and put your innovative mind or whatever you want in that to solve that problem because you are an engineer and you chose that path. So, yeah,
Yeah.
true. Cool. Interesting. A lot of insights actually. Yes, I always had this question like why at a later stage people don't choose to work in a startup. And I think as you mentioned, I think a lot of responsibilities which comes in and you don't want to wake up in the morning 6 and see 100 mails in your email box. I think it's too much and you can't even spend more time with your family. So it's better to kind of
And you have a continuous struggle. You're
yes.
struggling technically, you're struggling financially, you always have struggle. And on the other hand side, it's a very, very good school in decision taking.
Yes.
So we were working on a technology that it existed, but no one brought it so far. We did. So you can't read anything about it.
Hmm.
So you have to find out yourself. On the other hand side, you have to make money. And making money is either by customers or by investors,
Yeah,
and which is a different thing. And
that's right.
and it's
Yes.
and you always, yeah, you need to fulfill expectations within a short time period. And this
That's true.
fake it or make it becomes fraud if you don't make it.
True.
So if we look at very, very famous examples sitting in prisons right now, so she didn't make it. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
So that is why it's fraud. So Elon Musk made it more or less, so it wasn't fraud. Yeah. So yeah, well, we still don't have autonomous driving Teslas,
Yes.
but that's another story. Yeah, but finally, he made it good enough. Yeah, so the level of fulfillment is high enough not to put him in prison for that. Yeah. So, and these are extreme cases. But finally, the school of decision making is really, really good. If you take the wrong decision, your company may be ended immediately or in 3 months because you took the wrong decision and you run out of money. Yeah, it was the wrong path to go. And I remember that one of my colleagues who was the system engineer in our company, and he once found out that he was right and I was wrong in our last decision, and he said, 1-0, yeah, and I said, okay, we can start counting, yeah. So and finally it was like, I think we stopped counting after it was 9-1 or something. So
Who won,
it is
though?
really this, and you find out what you're good at, and I'm good at predicting the future.
Oh, okay. That's
The engineering part of the future, at least. Yeah. So it seems that I am able to predict what will happen if we go that path. Yeah.
That's a quality of leader, actually. Like that's I mean, that's how a leader should be, right? Like to see at least what are the downside or upside of it, and just take your team towards that way.
Well, let's say you don't need to be able to do that as a leader. Maybe it's even better you don't have this ability.
Okay.
It's important that I don't know. It's important that if you don't have this ability, you listen to people who have this ability.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Or you listen to different parties, and then I'm doing the same. I also listen to different parties, and then I build my own idea about the future. And but that is the difference between being a boss and being a leader. The boss knows, and the leader listens. So yeah, before he knows.
Oh, nice.
finally, in a classic structure, like at work, we're not in a democracy. Yeah, so you need to take decisions.
Yeah, true. At the end, you need to.
That is the most important part. You need to take decisions. Maybe not immediately. Maybe you play around with it a day or so, but you need to take a decision.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the end goal or the last step taken by a leader. Okay, my next question to you. Actually, we had a really great discussion, and you covered already a few answers of my questions, but I am interested to know. So, as someone who is like both technically adept, since you have a lot of leadership experience, so how do you balance innovation and execution in this fast-moving industry?
So, in general, it's always an issue to balance innovation and execution. So, and innovation in terms of, the definition of innovation is from idea to a product.
Yeah.
That is the innovation path. So that is one thing, and that includes execution. So, but what we usually think about, how can you be creative on one hand side and productive on the other hand side?
Right.
And productive in terms there is an outcome. Yeah. So, and that is a very good question. So everyone's struggling with it.
Yeah.
And there is a very famous speech of John Cleese, the British comedian, about creativity in management. I think it's also on YouTube. It has more than 1 million views, and he says everything you should know about creativity. So if you carefully listen, you know what is necessary to be creative on one hand side, which is more difficult than being productive, because productive is just everything we do usually every day. So
Yeah.
we have a plan, we have a process, we have, I don't know, a project, Gantt chart, whatsoever. Yeah. So being productive is under control. Yeah. Being creative is not under control, and it can't be under control. Otherwise, it's not
creative.
creative anymore. So,
Yes.
and you have to go, and he calls it a closed mode, where we are just focused on what we want to achieve, to an open mode where we just accept uncertainty, and we don't know what will come out. You can't force it. Yeah. Every writer who tried to force his new book will fail. Yeah.
Definitely.
That is well known. Yeah. So you need to have time. You need to relax. You need to have confidence. And what you can't have is pressure. And that is very difficult to achieve, because also, though I'm working in advanced engineering, I still have pressure. Yeah, internally and externally. There are customers, internal and external customers, who want to see results, and there is a certain time I have to finish a presentation, whatsoever. Yeah. On the other hand side, this creative part is something where you need to decouple yourself. What is very helpful is humor. So humor can bring you from the closed mode to the open mode. Yeah. And if you're really looking out for ideas, that you really create this space. Yeah. And I love all those statistics where people got their ideas from. If you ask those patent holders, where did you find that idea? And he's telling you, having a walk with my dog. There we are again with the dog. Under the shower. Yeah. I woke up at night and was writing it down. Yeah. It was during holidays, laying on the beach. Yeah. Somewhere like this, but almost never in the office.
Working time. Yes, never.
Yeah. Never. Yeah. So also, I just remember that my last idea I got after we had an internal workshop, which again today is impossible because of budget restraints. But we had an internal workshop, and in the evening, in the hotel room, I got the idea how to save a lot of money in the company. It has got nothing to do with technology and such. It's a process thing. But finally, it is just how do you get ideas? You don't get them when you're imprisoned in your office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you really want to go for an idea, and this back and forth finally means that in general, in the office, you're in the closed mode and you just go for execution. And if you want to gather people around you to have good ideas, you shouldn't gather them around in the office, but far away from the office and from their computers. Yeah.
Yeah, more
They must
innovative
not
ideas
have
pop up.
access to their emails. Yeah.
Yes. No phones, no laptops.
No phones. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, this is a very interesting question from a leadership or a founder perspective also. That how do you convey your vision to your team? Because you are a VP of advanced engineering and you must have a lot of big team who's working with you. So how do you convey your vision to such a big group of people?
I can say via town halls, but that is not really true. So what we found a way to do that. The first time that I came, and that is now something that is the difference between the applicant and the employee. So it is. I came there, and this team, this global team with 11 locations, was founded like 4.5 years before, and I was boss number 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Okay.
6 others were not all leaving on their own wish. Yeah, so more or less they were fired. So the
Okay.
question is, can you go on? No, you can't go on. You have to change something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is now we are talking about providing this information of change. So first of all, what do you want to change? Of course, you take someone who is good at strategies and you make plans together. What can we change? So what do we have to change? What went wrong? Why people are not satisfied? What is a good part? What is a bad part of what we have? And then you have to bring that into your locations, which is difficult. And I did it in a way that I found a team member with whom I could. I told my leadership team what I want to change.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was not able to go that change with us, and so he had to leave. And I took another team member with who I did a plan to bring that change into the team. So how did we do that? We handpicked 8 people, 8 team members, who are like the alpha wolves in the team. Yeah,
The
so
champions.
other people love to follow. No, not necessarily the champions, but just people that other people love to follow. Yeah?
Okay.
Who usually lead a conversation, though they may not be the light tower in terms of technically light towers, but so. And in a very interesting constellation. We have a small cafe in our company, and you can sit like 5 and 5 people, so 10 people on the seat. That is why two. So my team member with whom I do that, and I and 8 others. We even figured out where to sit, and we succeeded. So we figured out where to sit. So like 3, 1, 1, and then 1, 1, 3. So the second here and the second there was my team member and I, with whom we wanted to do that. And so we had some topics that we wanted to discuss. And we explained to those 8 people how we want to bring change into our company, so into our team. Yeah. So the team was a global team of more than 100 people, but finally you have to start with a location.
Yeah.
And at that point of time, Germany was the biggest location, so we started there. And the big advantage is if you have a town hall, no one dares to ask you. It's just too many people. And if it's going really, really bad, people are so upset that you can't, that is really bad. That may happen in France in a strike or something. Yeah, but so it is, you don't have any chance as a manager standing there and people shouting at you. It's also bad. Yeah, so that is just a bad environment to provide information about something important, something really important. Yeah, and so and a one-to-one conversation always has the problem that usually the boss is stronger in terms of conversation.
Yeah.
So the other party is always like
listening mode, more of a
yeah, and he doesn't have the feeling that he's got the power now or she's got the power now, and you can tell him or her whatever you like, and you can tell someone else something different. It's difficult. But if you have 8 people, they all hear the same, so you can't lie to them, and they understand you can't lie to them. On the other hand side, you have a second person there who can help you, support you, if the vibes are against you.
Mm.
So finally, you can really play the balls between the two.
Mm-hmm.
You can you have to prepare. You have to come prepared.
Yes.
Being prepared is basic. Yeah. And that really worked fine. We
Mm-hmm.
explained them what we want to change, how we want to change, and why we think that we have to change. And um, about a week later, everyone knew it and agreed. So you
Nice.
really
Okay.
suddenly have a team of like
8
more
people.
than 40 people
Yeah, sorry.
because you just, yeah, at that point of time, one location, more than 40 people
Mm.
instead of just the 8 that you infuse the 8 and they
You
spread the
spread
word
it.
around the 40. Yeah.
Yes.
And that worked really fine. And I'm
Cool.
now like almost 7 years on that position, so
You did the good job there.
success proved me right. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's very interesting. Did you like continue the same thing for other decisions also, or
Yes.
it was
We
okay.
do that. We do that time by time. If there is big changes in management decisions,
Mm-hmm.
how do we react on that? What does the crisis mean right now for our company, for ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Massive layoffs. How do we react on them? Yeah. What does it mean for us? Yeah. And I only can give the advice, always be open, no matter how bad the news are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell them, yes, we have to reduce by X.
Mm-hmm.
And but what does that mean now for you and for me? Yeah. And it means that we are going to do this and that, and here we are trying to find people who are old enough that they retire early, and
Mm.
you just make that in a way that they understand that you don't trick them. Yeah.
Mm. The trust is very important there. If you're open,
Yes.
then it builds more trust.
And trust is number one for being creative. You're
Mm.
not creative with people you don't trust. And
True.
that is why, especially in every advanced engineering or research, you need very good trust between all your members. And that, again, there's also studies about challenging your friends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're roasting your friends regularly, yeah,
Roasting. Okay.
the friends are closer to each other and
Yeah.
have more trust, which is
Mm.
interesting. So you have to find the right degree of roasting. Yeah. So
Yes.
um,
You should not break it.
yeah. You shouldn't be offensive. Yeah.
Yes.
But you can roast them with topics that yeah that are non-critical. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That don't hurt. That are more like and on the other hand side, also compliments. Yeah.
Yeah, of
So
course.
like, you're looking good today again. Yeah. Did you have a nice weekend? Yeah. And did you burn the meat again on the barbecue? Yeah. So that is some kind of
Yeah.
roasting. Yes, because you knew that maybe 4 weeks ago it was not so perfect. That
Yes.
you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that builds a lot of bond because you are like open and you are talking normal things, and then you're also putting out your vulnerabilities a bit, and it's like it's okay to laugh on and all these things. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a very good way to bond and be stronger.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's amazing. I think a lot of founders also struggle with this when the team is increasing and there are more people adding on and they're not a small company anymore. That's why I was very interested to know like how do you do it in such a big company in such a big role. So yeah, interesting to know that you just need to influence things and then it will spread it out. Yes. Cool. And my next question to you is more towards the autonomous driving sector. So, since the autonomous driving sector is going through massive change via EVs, automation, sustainability, so what excites you the most about the future of mobility?
Well, to understand the future of, or what, to understand the excitement of the future of automotive, or mobility as a bigger part, where automotive is just a part of it. You need to look sometimes into back into history. So the German Kaiser, the big king before his First World War, once said that that cars will just be a temporary phenomenon. Yeah. So
Okay.
so that's what he said. There will always be horses, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
carrying things from A to B, and cars will be just a temporary phenomenon. And maybe in 500 years we look back and say, yes, he was right, but right now we aren't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's not the case.
and if you look back, like I think it was in 1923 when and I think it was someone from Citroën, if I'm not mistaken, he said the car is now completely developed. There is no further development that can be made with cars, because it's just completely developed.
1923.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
yeah. Now you're saying, "Oh my God!" So that is exactly what we are talking about right now. And about EVs, for example, I think there were world records like more than 120 years ago, and they were set up with EVs and not with internal combustion engines. Porsche's first car that he ever designed was an EV in 19th century. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
as a young engineer, and so there is what I really like about automotive. It is super challenging. It is technically and financially super challenging. It is economically super challenging. It is very innovative. Finally, it is the art of building high tech millions of times for very few money.
Wow. That's a
If
very
you
good
see,
line for automotive, yes.
if you see, let's take a technology like radar. Take the first radar systems, or radar systems as they were developed, like ships. Yeah, mostly on the military sector.
Yeah, for the military, yeah, defense sector.
Freaking expensive stuff.
Yes, true.
Huge. Grilling everyone who's standing in front of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
initial, yes. Oh my God.
yeah, so it is really impressive. They can see a lot with it, no question. Now we have radar sensors in a car that can detect more or less the surrounding of around 300 up to 300 meters around your car. They can distinguish between pedestrians and bicycle riders and I don't know what. Yeah, they are produced like tens of millions of pieces per year. So my company, I don't even know the number, but it's a lot. They produce a lot. Yeah, and the cost is like a very low two-digit number per sensor.
Yeah, the cost has been reducing like from ages
So
now.
we're if we go to a customer and tell him it's 15, if it's $15, he said that is too much. So it is just you know it is incredible how much high tech you put in a product that finally costs almost nothing. And we are also world market leader in accelerator pedals. If I tell you what we get, how much money we get for an accelerator pedal, you will have tears in your eyes. Yeah. And pity with the poor supplier. So it is really impressive how much high tech the automotive sector has developed for small money. And this know-how goes back into other industries. Yeah. I'm sure if we took our software know-how on radar and put it into military devices, they could be one time around the world. I'm very sure about that. So it's really very impressive. And this is why I'm not afraid of the future. There will be always something new coming. So, of course, on the one hand side, it's developing into the wrong direction. People in emerging automotive markets, let's say it that way. Yeah, emerging automotive markets, they go for big cars, which is from a global point of view a bad idea. We just don't have the resources on a long-term perspective. On the other hand side, it would be very colonial to say and very imperial to say, no, you can't do that. Yeah,
You're
take a
stopping
bicycle.
innovation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, but even on motorcycles, there is a lot of innovation. If I see what we are inventing for the Indian motorcycle market, it's stunning. It's really stunning, and so motorcycles also will have a bright future. Yeah. But finally, also there, people are now not moving to small cars from a motorcycle to a small car. They just go straight away to a big SUV. Yeah. So it's they take the big car now and not the small car anymore. And the question is always, where do you want to put all those cars? Where's the infrastructure for those cars? And that's something. And now coming back to mobility, it is a little bit sad to see that there is no higher sense who is like moving people towards towards sustainable individual mobility, yeah, which maybe not a big car. Yeah. It is super difficult. It is super difficult. All shared approaches just fail for whatever reason. Yeah, it's always the same reason. It's not mine. Don't be gentle. It's a rental. Yeah.
Don't
So
be gentle. It's rental. Nice.
yeah, but that is exactly what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people just it always fails because of people. And the question is always who failed to educate people, to treat people to treat things nicely. I don't understand, but finally, well, it's just the world in which we live. And so obviously we can't go for sustainable mobility. Yeah. So my job is to provide parts for individual mobility mostly. I'm happy with it. Yeah. But yeah.
But EVs are also like kind of pushing towards sustainability, right? So
Yes, no question, no question. So there, interestingly, there is a lot. There is a whole industry trying to tell the world how bad EVs are, but EVs aren't
yeah.
bad at all. And you can see that EVs are even cheaper than ICEs right now. Yeah. So the break even has come, and I'm personally driving an EV for 1.5 years now. And as I'm driving a lot, also a lot of business trips and other stuff, so I make like 60,000 kilometers a year. It is possible with an EV. It's not impossible. Yeah. And I don't know where this fight against EVs comes from. It's
Yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting that people just fight it. Yeah, they try to they put a lot of energy in keeping things as they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
in doing no change, which is very strange to me, as we already talked about change and that it is necessary, and you can discuss it. You know, the point is you can discuss it, and you can also discuss, there is a big discussion in Germany especially about renewable fuels and whatsoever to drive cars. Yeah, and who in 10 years from now, in 2035, who in the world will buy a super expensive ICE car, internal combustion engine car, yeah, put like fuel for like 5-6 euros per liter into that car just to be humbled by even cheap EVs on the road. Because this cheap EV makes it like in 3.5 seconds from 0 to 100, and yeah, your gasoline, your expensive ICE wouldn't.
Yeah.
And the question is, who wants to drive such a car?
It's very
And
weird why people are pushing towards it or
yeah, and
against
everyone
EVs.
talking about range. People who want to have 600 kilometers range, sometimes I ask them, when did you last time drive 600 kilometers without a break? Yeah,
Yeah, good
without
question.
going peeing, without your children arguing why you should stop now. Yeah, believe me, there's not a lot of people who raise their hand. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just like it should have, they're just finding ways to protest against it or just be against
they
it.
have to
That's
change
it.
and they don't like it.
Exactly. I think a lot of industries
That's
like
the point.
traditional,
Yeah,
and automotive is a very traditional industry also. So I think that's also one reason why people don't want to change. That's
yeah,
maybe.
there's a lot of change in the world today, and not everyone can handle change.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, that's true. Cool. I think yeah, that's I hope more and more people use EV vehicles and understand the importance of that towards sustainability. And yeah, maybe my next question to you. Let's start with the next one. So, what is one project or technology you have worked on which you are particularly proud of, and why?
It's it's a non-automotive project.
Okay, interesting.
I so beginning of COVID, I remember that our Indian colleagues, they said, well, we don't have enough ventilators if it becomes bad.
Mm-hmm.
And ventilators are super expensive, we can't afford them. And there was a big global effort to provide cheap ventilators. So, as our Indian colleagues were not able to work because our company there was like in a red zone. They were
Mm-hmm.
even not allowed to leave their home to go for the supermarket to get some product. So we're really talking about something. If you see that today, you almost can't believe it, but it's really it really happened. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we started in Germany to develop a cheap ventilator, and
Okay, in your company?
in my company.
Okay, but it is
So
not in that sector at all, right?
no,
Okay,
but
interesting.
now it comes. So it was on a Tuesday evening. I was asked by one of the executives if advanced engineering could do that. I started making some effort to get some information what a ventilator should do. And Wednesday morning, I discussed with my tech manager if we can do that. We agreed that we can do that. We drew a sketch of a principle. We asked our board members for a certain budget,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was and on Wednesday evening we called 7 colleagues because we all were on short time work. So no, everyone was at home. Yeah. So everyone was at home. We were not able to travel, so everyone stayed at home, and
Mm-hmm.
we asked them if they were able to work with us for 7 days. So it was like 7
Wednesday.
working days.
Mm-hmm.
And after 7 working days, we had a working ventilator, but a real ventilator that for incubation and everything. And it was made from very simple products like 20-liter plastic canister, open close valves, nothing special. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you can just buy it at Alibaba. Well, at that point of time, it was even impossible to get a simple canister. Yeah. So we called at called the company who produces them, and they only provided them to us after they knew what we were working on. And otherwise, it wasn't possible anymore. There were no canisters available.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone filled them with some disinfection stuff. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, this ventilator really works fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so after 7 days in the evening, there was a ventilator. It worked completely. It was able to ventilate a patient,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a safety concept.
Mm-hmm.
And our Indian colleagues then continued to develop it to a real product. So finally, they even went into hospitals during COVID, took high risks, high personal risks to develop that thing at patients, yeah, to really save lives with those ventilators. And finally, after 2 years, it was a product with a stamp on it and certificates and everything. And the fun part is, or the part why I'm proud of it, or
Mm-hmm.
one of the why I'm proud of it, the safety concept, and safety concepts in medical devices are very different from automotive devices.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we learned a lot in those 7 days, and I called a lot of people in my network who were working in in the medical industry, and so we succeeded in the first 7 days to make a concept that our Indian colleagues constantly challenged. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted to design out or in some sensors or actuators. And finally, after 2 years, the product looked precisely as the concept we did in the first 7 days.
Whoa. Okay.
Completely certified. And you can see, by the way, there is a YouTube video from the Museum of Medical History in Ingolstadt.
Mm-hmm.
It is supposed to be the biggest one in Europe, and we provided the ventilator to them,
Okay.
and there is a YouTube video where the ventilator is also featured,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we can find the video and link it down in the
Yes.
description. And I'm sure if I'm on a lonely island and even my loved ones, without a doubt, this ventilator, even this very early prototype, will make a patient survive. I'm sure about that.
Wow. I mean, okay, a lot of questions actually on top of it. So when this request came to you, weren't you like, okay, I don't know anything about it, so how, I mean, how was
Yeah,
not a question?
there were a lot of companies who claimed that they built a ventilator, and sometimes it was just a machine that made this juk, 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 juk,
Yeah,
juk,
yeah.
that just, there is this hand bulb that just
Mm-hmm.
pumps like some oxygen, and no, it is a real ventilator that you usually can buy from Dräger for like 60,000 bucks. Yeah.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, and the final product, as we provided it, was like significantly less than 10,000.
Oh, that's huge difference. Yes.
Yeah, it is louder, it is bulky. Yeah, so
Mm.
it is bigger, it is louder, and it uses more oxygen, where
Mm-hmm.
we also had a solution for. But finally, it saves lives for much less money.
Yeah, yeah. Especially at the COVID time, I can imagine the use of it. It must be like
Yeah.
huge life-saving thing. And is it sold now as well? Like, is it out?
Right now, not, but it's
Mm-hmm.
for other reasons. So it
Okay.
is just because automotive went up again, and we
Mm.
just didn't have the capacity whatsoever. So the
Mm-hmm.
product is there. We could do that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But finally, it's not followed up. But
Okay. Is there a patent on
Nonetheless,
it?
I'm still proud of it. Yeah.
Ah, that's so sweet. I think that's very interesting that it's completely out of automotive and that you took the challenge and you designed it in 7 days. I cannot imagine the whole thing in 7 days and it was executed. So amazing. I think that's a very interesting technology to be proud of. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and my next question to you is how do you see the role of traditional automotive suppliers evolving as the industry shift towards electrification and software-driven vehicles?
Well, very often in the past, it was always supplier-driven innovation.
Really?
Now we
Hmm.
see for with Tesla in the past, not now, but Tesla innovated themselves
Mm.
and suppliers followed. And now we also have Chinese OEMs who innovated first and then suppliers followed or just are about to follow. So as always, I think a supplier accompany or suppliers accompany that thing. It is
Mm-hmm.
from a technology point of view, it is nothing you can distinguish as an OEM.
Mm-hmm.
So it is always better and more efficient that a supplier provides you with whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
And but of course, again, change. Yeah.
Mm.
So suppliers have to change.
Yeah.
I'm in the very, or my company is in the very lucky position that it is already in those fields who are relevant for software-defined vehicles and for EVs.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand side, in RFQs, we suddenly face a lot of companies who were not in those fields before.
Mm.
So we get the secondary challenge. Yeah. So
Mm.
sometimes companies who even weren't automotive before or who were doing like cylinder gaskets before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't use that know-how for anything else but cylinder gaskets. So you do something completely new
Yeah.
technically, but you stay in the field that you know, automotive, and suddenly you offer like an onboard charger. Yeah.
Mm.
Or yeah. And suddenly you're in that discussion and they go all in because they need it, otherwise their company is dead. So
Mm-hmm.
they tell you prices that are just impossible.
Yeah.
And this is something we are facing. Also
Mm.
like Tesla's famous Octovalve, suddenly some swimming pool suppliers are trying to go automotive, and
Mm-hmm.
they calculate with the prices of swimming pool production.
Mm.
Well, they fail finally because they may be chosen, but then technically their parts just fail, and then it's big struggle. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
but finally, it is a very difficult time for automotive suppliers.
Mm.
It is quite simple. You take off a component that has like a 4-digit parts of numbers, the
Mm-hmm.
internal combustion engine. So you had 4-digit parts of numbers which had to be produced, developed. Every one of them needs engineers to develop one of those 6-digit part of numbers. And now you replace it with something that is a 2-digit part of numbers
Mm.
and just needs engineers for 2-digit part of numbers. So
Mm.
I once heard that an internal combustion engine has like roughly 1,300 parts. Some have 1,700, some have 1,100. We're not. I'm not fighting about for this number. And I saw an example where an EV drivetrain was like 76 parts. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we don't need
Hmm.
those engineers who were developing that.
Hmm.
So either the company does something very different,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, you release those engineers. I don't know. Yeah. So
Mm.
finally, you have overcapacities, and that is always bad. And then you have a market like China that is very competitive.
Mm.
I just saw a graph that 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I think 10 years ago, they had like 500 brands, 500 car brands.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have 100 car brands. So 400 already left the market.
Okay.
And probably another 80 to 90 have to leave the market.
Mm. Wow, that's a lot of shift. I mean, from 500 to 100, it's like, whoa, that's interesting. Yes.
Yeah, you can say interesting. You can
Not
say
for them. Yes.
it's interesting. On one hand side, it is frightening. Yeah.
Yes, actually, for
And
automotive.
again, it is a change that comes in that case from outside. Yeah.
Mm.
So it is something you now can change with it. Yeah. And find a way through it. Or you can try to fight it, which is, yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah. You try to fight global economy. We just see what happens if people try to fight global economy. It fails. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what automotive is facing. There are really a lot of phases where it's not much fun to work in automotive,
Mm-hmm.
and we're
Mm-hmm.
just in one of them. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I think it's not it's not a good timing for automotive right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the last 7 years, I experienced 1.5 years without restraints on traveling or something like this.
Yeah.
And the other 5.5 years, there were restraints on traveling.
Mm.
For example, business travels or
Yeah.
some expenses and budget cuts and whatsoever.
Mm.
Only 1.5 years without that you just are able to work. If there's one meeting, there's one annual meeting that I usually do also with other industries,
Mm-hmm.
with companies from other industries. And yeah, automotive is outstanding there. Yeah. So if I see some industries and what they enable, it's stunning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to have the cool team event in Spain with 1,000 of your colleagues, don't go automotive. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Cool. Yeah, makes sense. My next question to you is looking back, what advice would you give to young engineers or researchers who want to make an impact in this automotive space?
First of all, what I already said at the very beginning, look into your dream jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So try to make trainings as long as you're still a student. Yeah. Right now it is much more simple than when I was young. Yeah. So when I was young, we were many students and only very few places for trainings. And now it's the other way around.
Mm.
Usually you find training opportunities even in rough times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe you don't find a job later, but that is another thing. Look into it if it is really what you expected. I think that is the most important thing. Always stay positive. There is no reason to let your job dominate your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Always think about with whom you will share your life longer, with your family or with your company. But on the other hand side, being with a company is not just taking. You know, I'm addressing Generation Z and beyond. Yeah, so it
Yes.
is not just taking. You also have to give. Yeah, and so the bare minimum is like you're there if you have to be there. Yeah, and be on time, deliver. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot I could say to Generation Z, but that is another thing. Yeah.
Anything specific to automotive sector or the space?
No, I think automotive is also like other sectors. The difference is you can easily switch from automotive to other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to to aerospace, maybe not to aerospace, because aerospace is just very different. So it is a little bit more difficult to change from aerospace to automotive and from automotive to aerospace, besides special topics. Yeah. But if you were successful in automotive, you can make it everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of things are involved in that, so for sure,
Yeah.
yes.
So automotive usually is really demanding excellence. And if you're a good automotive engineer and you finally find out that automotive sucks, you can really go. You can choose. You can choose, but you can't come back. That is the problem. So you may be able to come back within the first, second years. Yeah, 1-2 years, but then it's over. So if you're out for too long, you can't go back because yeah, you lost contact to automotive.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I think that's a very good advice for anyone who wants to
Yeah,
get into
and
this.
make a career plan for your life if you want to make a career. Don't make strange things. Yeah, don't swap jobs every year or every 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm, the problem is not what you're thinking about it. The problem is what is the person thinking about it that is hiring you. And people who are hiring you are not in Nita's age. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they may be in my age, and that is the problem. You have to, I just got an application with a picture with some diving goggles on. Yeah, so
Okay.
you can do that, yes, but why?
On a CV?
On a CV, yeah. So why? Yeah. So why? Why would you do that? Yeah. And yeah. So just to give you an idea, yeah. So it is like you have to persuade by what you can do. Yeah. I'm buying. So I'm buying I'm buying a product. This product is know-how and performance. And if there is a selfie with a mobile phone, I literally saw one picture was taken as a selfie with a mobile phone like this, yeah. So
Oh my
and
God. How
I
can you
don't
even see
want
those
I don't want
CVs?
someone playing around with his mobile phone. You know, what is the message behind that picture? Yeah. So the point is always, who do you want to address? And finally, unfortunately for you guys, it was the same in my time. I was young and I was hired by people who were traumatized by war. I don't, yeah, but it is just, it is just a generational problem. You don't hire, you're hired by people with another mindset, maybe another mindset. Yeah. And at the beginning, you have to stand that. And finally, you have to develop your own mindset and you have to be the manager then, and you can change it. Yeah. But it is not just from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think the professionalism is like basic if you're applying for for a company with a CV, right? It's like I don't know why people don't understand this. This is a very basic thing.
Yeah, yeah, but there is a lot of people who don't understand.
That's
If
so
I show
weird.
you applications, you will wonder. Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't even see that what is written inside it if that's the picture. Yes.
Yeah, but we were already talking about other parts of the applications. You know,
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
see an application with 5 different fronts and there is
Nope.
no structure, why would I hire someone like this where
Who is not even structured.
I'm completely annoyed every time I read a report of this person.
Oh my God.
I will be annoyed every time. Yeah. So
I can understand. I write my C like I wrote my CV in LaTeX because there's a constant structure which I can maintain the whole thing. Oh my
yeah.
God, I don't know why people. That's weird. I don't know how do you do your job because I have not been in that shoes for sure. But oh my God, hats off to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my final question to you is what is something that you are currently learning or exploring, either in professional or personal life, that gets you excited?
Yeah. I'm just installing a heat pump in my house.
You are
and I'm doing
installing.
that myself. I'm doing that
Oh.
myself. So with everything, so I decided for a certain how to how to arrange the system, how the about the components, about everything. And this is very challenging for me, as I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
professional worker on that field, so I
Mm-hmm.
have to learn a lot. Yeah. Also in terms of how to plan in the cellar, which tube to lead to where and in which angle, and I don't know what. And so that is really challenging for me right now. That is what I'm just learning.
Interesting. You are in automotive. You worked on ventilation. Now you're doing heat pumps. So so
Yeah,
many
the heat pump
fields.
in my own house, so
Yeah.
it's just my own risk, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, still. But still, it's interesting that you are like into different things. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I am done with my questions, and I'm just curious to know, like, did you move to the 300 kilometers or the
No,
long distance one? Oh,
no,
you
no,
did?
no. To tell you a secret, it was the discussion with my wife was um, like she doesn't like it at all that I'm not that I have to, because it's clear you can't go there in the morning and come back in the
Yeah,
evening.
it's too
So
much.
at least not every day. So the agreement was finally, if she's at home,
Hmm.
so she also has a job where where she travels a lot. If she's at home, I was allowed to stay away 2 weeks a week, 2 nights a week, 2 nights a week. So I got, because and she had a job at that time where she is 1 week a month. She was she was traveling,
Hmm.
and so I was able to arrange to find some arrangement where I'm 3 weeks a week, only 3 days there, and 1 week 5 days. And at that point of time, mobile office was out of discussion. So
Yeah.
I I finally succeeded that it made it into the contract that I have 6 days of mobile office in a month,
Hmm.
which doesn't sound too bad.
Six
Yeah,
days, that's it?
6 days in a month. Yes.
But yes, I mean, wow.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes finally that is 3 weeks, like 2 days a week and 1 week full. It worked out like that. So that is how I arranged it, and I took a small apartment or a room in a house at that time. And after COVID now, this is no thing anymore. It's no
Mm.
problem. Company rule is you have to be there like 2 days, and usually or very often I'm there like 3 days a week. Yeah, and then I also have business trips, and so I take a
Mm-hmm.
hotel. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a small village nearby that was once some spa. Yeah, some spa village, and now the
Mm-hmm.
spa is yeah, broken, and they don't have the money to repair it, so they just have too many beds for
Okay.
all the for and so it's cheap. It's really cheap to be there in a hotel. So that is uh, that is how I do it today.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that is really the best outcome of COVID, that employers understood that people are even working when you don't watch them.
Yes. They can work from home as well. Yes.
Yes, and they do that. It's not
Yes.
only they can do that, they
Mm-hmm.
do that. They are intrinsically motivated to do work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that was my question. Like, I was very interested to know, did you move? But yes, I think you found your way
Yeah.
for that. Yes, interesting. Cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Yokem. It was like amazing talking to you. I learned a lot, and I see you read a lot of books and you see a lot of these kind of videos and like learn a lot in a lot of ways. And I learned a lot from you, and also like how the industry is moving towards moving in different these things. And thank you so much for sharing all the insights and your experience, which was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Nita, for the invitation. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, maybe see you next time. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Have a nice Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye.